You're listening to the Visionary Lifestyle Podcast, the show that's dedicated to raising consciousness and empowering you to activate your highest potential. I'm your host, Magda Freedom Rod. Greetings, Rainbow Warriors, and bienvenue from France. I'd hoped to get this episode out while I was still in California, but I was forced to surrender to the fact that between technical issues with computers and files, in addition to my heavy schedule of moving out of my place in LA and teaching while in California, it simply wasn't possible. I got to teach a community healing event in my beloved Ojai to help with healing after the fires, and I presented my Yoga Starts in the Kitchen workshop at the Lightning in a Bottle Festival. That was my 4th year in a row at the Learning Kitchen, and it's always a joy to present at this event. Stay tuned for pics and a YouTube video of that presentation coming up soon, and listen to my interview with Cristina Urioste, the curator for that stage, to learn more about that event. So I've done it now. I took the leap to leave my Los Angeles home of 20 years behind, donate all my stuff to my friends who lost their homes in the Ojai fires. I sold my car, and now I'm on Yomad status full time. That's right, I'm a yoga nomad sharing yoga all over the world, and I couldn't be happier about it. This last year traveling the world showed me that this is exactly what I want to be doing at this point in my life. I'm taking the action steps to literally lighten my load and invest in experiences over things. In September, I'll be presenting at the DNX Global Festival in Lisbon, which is the place to be if you're interested in moving towards the digital nomad lifestyle. Stay tuned to my Facebook page for announcements and discounts for that event. So now I'm in the Auvergne region in France, in the middle of a 6,000-acre forest that rests inside a volcano. Seriously, guys. I'm here offering a wilderness wellness experience, and you're invited. I'll be here teaching yoga for a couple more weeks, and you can drop in anytime to participate. We're in a stunning 300-year-old eco-lodge in front of a lake with views of animals and rolling hills. It's the most quiet, peaceful place I can ever remember being. It's truly magical. You can come for just a few nights or as long as you want. So if you're in Europe or looking for an excuse to travel, please come and join us. You can find the details on my Visionary Lifestyle and Podcast Facebook page, and I'll post a link in the show notes as well. So now on to today's show. Allison Melody is a co-host of the Food Heals podcast along with Susie Hardy and is the owner of Melody Productions. She is an eco-entrepreneur with a passion for film, fitness, and food. Through her podcast, she brings together experts in nutrition and healing to teach listeners the best-kept natural secrets to health and happiness. For the past 11 years, Allison has also directed, produced, and edited documentary films, PSAs, commercials, and viral videos for clients on the topics of social justice, human rights, and holistic health. The topics she addresses through her work are powerful and heart-centered and focus on holistic health, social justice, human rights, and animal rights. They reflect her passion for creating positive change in people and the communities they serve. At the age of 26, Allison endured the devastating loss of both her parents to cancer after long and challenging battles. Witnessing her mother and father suffer so intensely and needlessly from a cure that brought more pain than the disease, Allison soon dedicated her life to finding a better way to heal. She watched in disbelief as doctors prescribed drug after drug, observed her parents' hair fall out, their rapidly aging faces, and their exceedingly diminishing vitality. The tragedy instilled in her an unwavering passion for nutritional medicine and propelled her into the world of holistic health and alternative healing. Allison's firm commitment to natural health is further evidenced by her achievement of a master's degree in spiritual psychology. Allison is currently in the process of directing Food Heals, a documentary with an all-star cast that focuses on the healing power of food as medicine. I met Allison in the City of Angels a few years ago when I was a guest on her podcast, Food Heals, not once, but 3 times. After the first appearance on her show, it was clear that we're like-minded kindred spirits, both working to raise awareness about the healing power of food and a sustainable lifestyle. Sadly, Susie was unavailable to join us for this interview, but I think Allison and I managed to have a lively discussion that I hope will inspire and empower you on your healing journey. Food is medicine, guys, and Allison and I dive into this topic in this conversation. If you're suffering from an illness or have a loved one who is, I hope you get some inspiration and learn something here that supports you. We talk about the best foods to eat to heal as well as those to avoid. We discuss the documentaries that helped us learn how to thrive in this healthy lifestyle. And Allison reveals her biggest mistakes as well as tips when starting on the healthy lifestyle path. Allison says, "My mission is to educate others that we can heal ourselves. We just have to believe it and do the work." So, are you ready to do the work to live your healthiest life ever? Let's go. And make sure to check out the show notes on visionary-lifestyle.com/podcast for links to the things we discuss in this episode. While you're at it, join our Facebook page and group and follow my worldwide YoMad adventures and say hi on my Instagram account at visionary_lifestyle_guide, as well as at Visionary Lifestyle Podcast. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. Enjoy and namaste. Allison Melody, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Magda. Long time no see. I miss you.
I know. I miss you too.
You've been traveling the world. I'm so jealous.
I have been. It's true. And now I'm doing a California season. You know, we did India and Bali and Thailand, and now I'm doing California again. So full circle.
Incredible. We're glad to have you back in Cali.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish we could do this in person so I could give you a hug, but
I know.
I'll take what I can get. But this is a nice change of pace because I was on your show 3 times and now I get to have you on my show.
Yes, 3 of our most favorite, most popular episodes ever, of course.
Yeah, it's, you know, I was so inspired by being on your show, and I had already had the idea of starting my own podcast when I was a guest on your show.
I remember.
Right? Yeah. And then, you know, I just really saw you guys doing it and being so successful with it. And I got really inspired by that. So it just really kind of fueled me to keep moving in this direction. And it's just fun to be on this side of it now where I actually have my show and you get to be my guest.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that we inspired you, and I'm happy to be your guest.
Well, yeah. Well, you inspire me and you inspire so many people through your podcast, the Food Heals podcast. And I'm really excited to have, you know, some time to drop in with you and talk about exactly that, the fact that food heals. And I just really want to acknowledge you for, you know, putting that message out there like you do, and you and Susie. And unfortunately, Susie can't be with us today. But I'm happy to have you and drop into this conversation because you know more than most people I know, you know that food heals.
Right? I do, and that's why I created a brand around it, and I believe it with all my heart.
Right. So where did that come from? How did you learn that?
Well, it wasn't always this way. So if you cut to a little girl in North Carolina, and by little I mean, you know, 20 years old, that girl knew nothing about nutrition, didn't care about nutrition, didn't care about health, only worked out because she wanted to look good in a bikini, and that was it. And so I'm a completely different person now than I was back then, for better, for worse. And it's because of my, you know, life experiences that got me here. First, I grew up with my mom having multiple sclerosis, which is a disease where they say the immune system is attacking itself. And so it's a very slowly debilitating disease. And so when I was in high school, she had very little symptoms, but she ended up, you know, getting progressively worse as I got older. And when I went to college, I moved 2 hours away from my hometown of Chapel Hill to Wilmington, which was our beach town. And my parents moved into their vacation beach home, which was about 30 minutes away. And so it was, I still got to spend a lot of time with my parents, is kind of what I'm saying. And I saw her get progressively worse in my college years, and to the point where she was eventually riding, she wasn't quite wheelchair bound, but she was riding on a scooter when we would go to Target, and I remember I'd be so embarrassed. It was the worst thing ever. This was my thought pattern, which is horrible. I look back at that spoiled little brat and I go, ugh. Anyways. And, and we went to doctors, and they would just give her new pills. Oh, try this pill. Oh, but this pill is going to have 14 side effects. You're going to need this pill. And it got to the point where we couldn't even go to Target anymore, and she was basically housebound, and she sat in a chair all day with the dog, and she would take pill after pill, and she would write them down. This was her whole life, was watching television, laying on a chair and taking pills. And she was losing, her life before my eyes. She had problems with her hands and feet. She couldn't feel them. They would go numb. They were in pain, and she was on a lot of pain medication, and it was just not a way to live. And then all of a sudden they had another doctor's appointment where she got a new diagnosis, which was cancer. And cancer was a word that I thought happened to other people. It didn't happen to my family. I didn't know anyone with cancer, right? Mm-hmm. And so when we got that diagnosis, that's when I started to wake up and go, why is this happening? What's going on, right? But it was a very, very slow awakening in a very, very small town. And so there wasn't any talk of alternative medicine or nutrition or what she was putting in her body or pharmaceutical drugs and, the side effects that they can cause. And so we just did what the doctor said to do, which was massive amounts of chemotherapy, radiation, and she did have one surgery which was unsuccessful. And they couldn't determine the cause of the cancer. So usually they say it's breast cancer or it's ovarian cancer. They couldn't determine the cause. It had just spread throughout her body. And so they called it carcinoma of unknown origin. So I'm like a little 20-year-old and I don't know what that means. All I know is like she's dying. Help her. Medicine. Help her. Modern medicine. Doctors in white coats. Right.
Right. Because that's what you've been conditioned to. I mean, growing up your entire life, right? It's like our entire society conditions us to look to the doctor in the white coat for the solution.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so I remember like my friend was in a nutrition class in college and she had mentioned something. And I said to the doctor, my mother's oncologist, does nutrition matter? And he said, no, she can eat whatever she wants. And one part that I've tended to leave out of the story sometimes, I don't know why, but he said she can smoke if she wants.
Wow.
Okay. She can eat whatever she wants. She can smoke if she wants. And I think his intention of saying that was because she's not going to live, but he didn't complete that sentence. But I was thinking like in terms of healing, like was there anything nutrition could do to heal? And he said no, and I was still not as aware as I am now, as you are, Magda, now, of the healing power of nutrition, alternative medicine, and all the things that are possible. And so she unfortunately passed away, and it was a month before I graduated college.
Wow. So heartbreaking.
Yes, I think I'm bad with ages. I think I was 22 or something by this point. And so she passed away. And I remember my dad and I going on a vacation just to get away, and in the airport there was a book and it was called like Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. And I was like, ooh, they don't want me to know, I want to know. And it was just a book about all the natural cures that existed and the truth about the money behind pharmaceutical drug manufacturing and advertising, and I started to awaken.
Wow. So that book was a turning point for you, huh?
It was the first in the turning point process, I would say. I did pick up many books after that got me even more and more involved. And, then it started to become this Google world where we could Google everything, which didn't really exist when my mom was going through this. If it did, I didn't know. I don't even think I had MySpace or anything. There was no Facebook, Right. There wasn't information at your fingertips the way there is now. And so I started to wake up and realize that, nutrition matters, nutrition heals, or nutrition can kill. Food can heal or food can kill.
Mm-hmm.
And that was
Yeah.
my first foray into this world. And I just went after it full force. Like, I'm not going to get cancer. Like, I'm going to heal myself and I'm going to get healthy. And so I tried all these fad things like juicing and raw food diets and did those for a little while. And I was feeling better. I was definitely like experiencing weight loss and more energy. And I was like, there's something to this.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved to California because I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I was, from North Carolina to California. And I'm in California, and then I started meeting all these, like, woohoo people. And I describe them like that because now it's like they're all my best friends. But back then, it was still a little bit foreign to me, and I was hired to take a woman's photos, her pregnancy photos. And I had to pick her up and drive her to Malibu for the photo shoot. And I picked her up, and we got to talking, and she was pregnant and radiant and gorgeous. She's like, oh, well, I don't know if I had told her my mom had cancer. I can't remember. But she was like, oh, well, I had cancer, too. I had ovarian cancer, and I cured it with a juice cleanse. And I was like, okay, sister. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
and
you weren't buying it?
I was a little bit. I was still on I wasn't sure. But I was like, this is kind of like what I'm learning now. And then she told me her story. And then I made a film out of her story. And it went to film festivals. And all these people were like, I healed myself.
Uh-huh.
I lost weight. I cured my diabetes. And I was like, all these people are doing it. And it's the secret. It's California's secret.
Yeah, we do. We are in the green bubble here in California where, a lot of people around here understand or at least open to alternative healing. And that's, interesting from you coming from North Carolina to hear. I mean, sure that in and of itself was a big shift and an eye opener. So that's cool that you were called to make that film. And that took you out to the film festivals, and then you just kept getting more and more social proof, right, from all the people around you going, yeah, that happened for me too. And then I'm sure that just continued your evolution, right, of understanding just how powerful food is as a healer.
It absolutely did. And so I started meeting all these people, and I started recording their stories on film, and I was like, I'm going to do something with this. I think I put them on YouTube back then, and I was just like, oh my God, like this is everything. And I was trying to tell everyone I knew, like, did you know that you can reverse disease through nutrition and alternative medicine? And people are like, what are you talking about? And and some California people were like, yeah, obviously I knew that. North Carolina people were like, what? So then I'm telling my dad all of this stuff, and I'm like, how many medications are you on? What are you eating every day? And he was a smoker, so he smoked cigarettes, and then he smoked cigars, and he drank like a normal, 55-year-old person drank, and ate a typical American diet, which sometimes consists of fast food and easy to get food. And so he called me, and I was living in California, he's living in North Carolina, and he said, I'm sick, come home.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm going to cure you. Here I come.
Uh-huh. And how did that go?
Not well. But, I just went home, and I started making smoothies and making juices and telling him the healing power of nutrition and all the people I had met that had reversed disease and that he could do it too. But, my biggest learning lesson from that is that just because you believe something doesn't mean that your loved ones are going to believe it. And if they don't believe it, it's not going to work anyway.
So he wasn't open to it.
He pretended to be, Magda. So at first he was like, oh, I'll drink the garlic smoothie. And then he would go pour it out, pretend he was asleep so he didn't have to drink it. He was playing along. He was a sweet guy, but...
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He wasn't as into it as maybe you and I would have been. And so unfortunately, he also had cancer. And he passed away very, very quickly. My mom's was a little bit longer. His was very quick. So he was extremely sick, and it was liver, and you know how that goes. So those two traumas in my life have propelled me to completely overhaul my life and make sure that, I live the most eco-friendly, anti-cancer lifestyle and diet that I think that I know how. And my mission doing the Food Heals podcast and all of the things that I'm working on is to educate others that we can heal ourselves, but we just have to believe it and we have to do the work.
Yes, amen. Wow, that's such a powerful story, Allison. I can just, not even entirely imagine, the heartbreak, but just focusing on the positive of it, the gift that, for your life now, the rest of your life is going to be as healthy as it can possibly be, as well as your future children. And I'm just thinking about all the people that you're affecting with the work that you're doing now, and just how inspired, and motivated you are to get the word out for the people that don't know it. So it's a really powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing. What have you found as, with all the research that you've done now, and how many episodes do you guys have of the podcast out now? How many interviews have you done? You're in
we're over 150. I'm not sure exactly what number.
So that's a lot of powerful conversations. I'm sure that you've gleaned a lot of information from all those interviews. I know how much I'm learning, doing my show, and I can just imagine with you've got a lot of, interviews there and conversations. What have you learned about, what are the foods that heal? What are the best foods to heal? And, before you answer, I just want to frame this that, if we look at it through an Ayurvedic lens, every body is totally different, right? And everybody needs a different thing. So there's no silver bullet for everybody. But I do believe that there are certain categories of foods, right, that are more medicine than poison, right? So all medicine is either medicine, or all food is either medicine or poison, right?
So true.
So yeah. So what are you finding, with everything that you're learning? What are you finding are the most, powerful foods to heal the body?
Yeah, this is a great question, because I totally agree with you that every body is different, and we have to find what works for each of us as an individual. Mm-hmm. But there are some things that are undeniable, like greens. Mm-hmm. And so I know that you and I both follow the plant-based vegan diet pretty religiously, and that is absolutely what works for me. It works for my body type, my blood type, the food allergies that I know, or I'm sorry, I don't have any food allergies. I have food sensitivities. I've been tested. The food sensitivities that I know I have, this is what works for me. But what works for everyone is eating more greens.
Mm-hmm. Right? And why is that?
They're superfoods. Spirulina is one of the strongest, most potent superfoods you can put in your body, and it's green. And so a powder like that, it's a natural algae. It's high in protein. So everyone that says to a vegan, where do you get your protein? It's like, I get them from greens.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, they're a good source of antioxidants, B vitamins, all these nutrients. And it's super, it's got the essential, it's got the amino acids. It's got a ton of iron. I used to be extremely iron deficient. I was, as a kid, I didn't eat red meat. And so that was attributed to me having low iron and all this stuff. But anyways, anything green, like kale, I know that's such a buzzword right now that it's almost hilarious, and all the shirts that say kale instead of Yale, like, as soon as something gets trendy, it gets funny, and it's used as a joke, but it's no joke. Spinach, right. Kale, spirulina, these things can heal the body and can give you what you need right away to start the healing process.
Right. And that chlorophyll that comes in the green, it's just basically like sunshine, because it's the photosynthesis of light into the plant, right? So that the deeper the green color, the more chlorophyll, and chlorophyll being one of those elements that provides like over 200 beneficial processes to your body. I mean, just with one element, and it's very close to our blood as well. So it's a great blood builder. And, as we build new blood, we're basically rebuilding our body, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a good point. And I know Joe Cross from Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, he calls it liquid sunshine. Yeah,
that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Perfect. So what's wrong with animal products? I mean, I'm hearing you saying that you're on a plant-based vegan diet, and I generally tend to say whole foods plant-based more, or my new favorite thing to say is I'm on a planet-based diet.
Ooh, you always have the best buzzwords. I love that.
But, I find myself shying away from the word vegan just because in some cases it's a divisive word, but essentially it's vegan. I mean, I do still have some bee products, like sometimes I'll have bee pollen or honey or something. If it's in something, I won't deny, having something, a muffin out if it's made with, honey. Like, I'm not fanatical about it. And I really want to focus on getting people to eat more plants. That's where I'm coming from. But vegan also, I mean, it is an easy way to just say, I don't eat animals, I eat plants, right? But we all know that there's healthy vegan diets and there's unhealthy vegan diets. Right. So that's definitely the part that I'm promoting is the whole food plant-based diet. So what is it that's wrong, or, as opposed to medicine, or we could use the word poisonous, what is it that's poisonous about animal products?
Well, I just want to tell you that I do agree with you that the word vegan does have an interesting connotation to different people, and Oreos are vegan. So right. It is really important to specify the whole foods plant-based, because you could be a very unhealthy vegan if you wanted to. And so I do agree with you there. The reason that I don't eat animal foods is twofold. The first is because I started learning about the relationship between animal products and diseases, and animal products and causing inflammation in the body. And so for me, I realized that, well, why are we drinking cow's milk? Instead of, I understand why we drink our mother's milk, and I understand why a baby calf would drink its cow's milk, because they want to get big and strong and healthy. But that cow's milk is designed for that baby calf. It's not designed for my body. And so what is it doing to me? It's causing me a whole host of health problems. Besides the fact that it's meant for a baby calf, it's to grow bigger and stronger in a short amount of time, so it's only going to add weight to my body. It's not meant for my body. It's full of hormones and oftentimes herbicides and pesticides from what the animals are eating. They're not being fed a grass-fed diet like they pretend they are in the advertisements. Look, maybe one or two are, but in general, no. And so I just realized that I wasn't going to put food in my body that wasn't meant for my body, because why would I? And so there's also a lot of correlation between dairy and meat and cancer, and even, the World Health Organization has now admitted this or specified that this is the case. And so I'm not the best person to give you the facts and stats behind this. I would watch a documentary like Plant Pure Nation, Forks Over Knives, what's the latest one that just came out? Sorry.
What's the Health?
What the Health? Yeah. Okay.
What the Health? Have you seen that?
I love it. I would watch a documentary such as Forks Over Knives, or What the Health, or Cowspiracy, or Plant Pure Nation to really get the facts, and then you can make the decision that is best for you. But for me, I'm also blood type A, which doesn't do well with animal products, and so it works for me. And the second reason is the abuse and the factory farming. As you can see in the movie Cowspiracy, and Magda, you can probably talk much more eloquently to this, but factory farming is the absolute destroyer of our environment. And excuse my French, you can edit this out, but fuck taking shorter showers, stop eating meat. If you really want to go green, if you really want to lower your carbon footprint, if you really want to stop and reverse global warming and save this planet, you have to stop eating factory farmed meat. And that's science, and that's undeniable. And so the reasons are for my health and for our environment and for the animals and the abuses that they suffer. I guess there's three.
No, well, I'm definitely going to keep the profanity in and not edit that out because it's you, and because it drives home the point that, obviously I couldn't agree with you more on that, and it is an important subject that more people need to be paying attention to, which is why we do what we do. Yeah. Okay, that's a lot to digest. Pun intended.
No pun intended.
Totally pun intended. This is why I want to have you on the show, because I love hanging out with you and talking food with you and giggling with you. It's not as fun as when we're in the studio together and having wine or something, but that's okay.
Next time.
Again, I'll take what I can get, but we'll do it again. Yeah, in person and with the wine.
With Susie and the wine.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. We'll have to do a round two. But yeah, everything you said, of course, total agreement. And there are so many reasons not to eat animals, but and you just touched on all of them right there. And what I really wanted to focus on in the interview with you today was, the health piece, because as you know, with my conscious eating, I teach self-love, animal love, and planet love. So it's the triad, it's the pyramid, it's the triangle, right? It's all three of those in equal measure. And in order for us to express self-love, animal love, and planet love, the simple solution is to eat more plants. So the more plants we eat, the less animals we eat, and the better off we and the animals and the planet are. But I really wanted to focus on, the self-love piece and the health piece with you, because, your show is all about food healing. And as we know, and as we've said, every bite of food can be either medicine or poison. And the more we look at it, and the more the research we do, and the more people we talk to, and the more people we know and witness going through their own healing journey, we see time and again how plants heal and animal products, do the opposite, right? They create disease. So yeah, we're learning that, as you said, that a whole foods plant-based diet can actually even reverse disease. Yes. And yeah, I mean, it's my hope that we can inspire people into adopting this lifestyle now before they get sick, though, really looking at it as prevention.
That's what I'm doing for myself, because I don't have any chronic disease. I don't have cancer. I don't have, but I'm looking at my parents and going, this can start very young. My mom had multiple sclerosis when I was born, when she was 30 years old. My father got cancer when he was 50, early 50s. So I'm doing everything I can now.
Right, you're in prevention mode, and that's so admirable, and exactly what I want to inspire people into recognizing is that prevention is the cure. Let's not wait until we're sick and then try to heal ourselves back. Let's just be healthy, as vibrant and healthy as we can possibly be, and stay that way.
So true. And spend the money now on eating well instead of spending it on the healthcare costs, because that can bankrupt a family, the cost of the care. And so I know that people think organic food is too expensive. There are so many guides out there right now that can teach you how to be healthy, organic, and plant-based on a budget. I'm happy to provide resources for your listeners, but that's not an excuse anymore, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah. The information is out there. Now we are in this age of technology with the internet. Like when your parents were sick, there was no Google, Right. Yeah. But you're right. People can really take their health into their own hands. Now, all the information is right there at your fingertips. Listen to this podcast, listen to the Food Heals podcast, listen to all the health podcasts, and spend time educating yourself, because the information is there and the resources are there, and we don't have to be sick, and one thing that I've been learning is that it's entirely possible that we all have cancer and other types of disease, genes within us, right? But we are not our genes. We are the expression of our genes. So whether or not that those diseases are expressed is a matter of diet and lifestyle, right?
Could not be more spot on. And that's the problem, because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm destined. It's in my genes. I'm going to get sick. And this is why a lot of women are doing these preventative mastectomies, because they are assuming I'm going to get breast cancer because my mom did, my aunt did, my cousin did, my grandma, whatever. Okay?
Right.
It's in my genes. It's in my DNA. No, those genes were turned on. Now, it is a multifactorial, there's a reason that those things got caught on and got turned on. And there may be many, many reasons for that. But what are you going to do differently? How are you going to live your life? Are you going to eat well and try to live a stress-free life? Look, I know that's impossible. Are you going to forgive people? Are you going to work on the things that are not working in your life? Are you going to work on yourself? Are you going to love yourself? Are you going to show up for yourself? That's the difference. And it's not that the people that got breast cancer didn't do that. They didn't know. In most cases, they didn't know. So if you know better, you can do better, but we have to know better first.
Right. And that's where this education piece comes in. So I just really want to acknowledge all the people that are listening to the show and have made it this far into our conversation. Like, you are totally showing up for yourself right now. It's an expression of self-love to sit and listen to this conversation and empower yourself with information. So good job, everybody. And I like that you're touching on the mental piece as well, because we know that food heals. We're talking about greens. Greens is, the across the board common denominator. Greens are good for everybody. So everybody eat as many greens as you can. I actually have a YouTube video about getting more greens into your routine from a presentation I did at Lightning in a Bottle Festival last year. I did a whole presentation on just that, trying to get people to get more greens into their routine. So that's awesome. A resource that I'll put in the show notes for people. But there are more types of food than just what we already know as food, right? Plants and animals. There's psychic food, if you will, right? There's relationships are food. Your job is food. Like, all these things are things that we take into our body and our mind, right? And influence us in one way or the other. So if we're having stressful relationships or stressful jobs, stressful time at the job, all of these things, they create stress, and stress is a huge factor that creating inflammation, right? Mm-hmm. With inflammation being the root cause of many diseases. Mm-hmm. So it's important. I'm so glad that you brought that up and we're shining some light on that. Tell us more about what you know about the mental piece of the things that we consume that we could also, consider quote unquote food.
I love talking about this because I feel like I've had many awakenings in my life, I'll call them, and the first was food and nutrition and alternative medicine, and the fact that I was realizing that cancer was being reversed by nutrition and vitamin C therapy and ozone therapy and all these alternative treatments I had never heard of from the oncologist. So that was awakening number one, that there were ways to heal yourself with alternative medicine and food. Wake up call number two was the emotions, which I didn't see at first. I was like, what I eat is everything and that is it. Well, I was missing a huge component. What I eat is extremely important. What I think, what I feel, and am I forgiving myself? Am I forgiving people in my life? Am I holding on to crap from the past? Might be even more important. Because if we're eating greens all day and we're angry and stressed and sad and mean and whatever, I don't think we're going to heal. So you got to find out, what are you holding on to? You got to look inside. Every time you're angry, it's just because you're scared to be sad about something that's happening, that happened to you. It could be it happened to you when you were 3 years old. It could have happened to you 5 minutes ago. It doesn't matter. What are we holding on to, and what can we let go of? And it's not easy. I'm not saying it's like 1, 2, 3, boom, we're done. Oh, I realize I'm still mad at my stepfather for whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to assume. Right. But something that happened to us as a kid, we might be holding on to as an adult and have no idea. But that is what we have to heal. Let's take my dad, for example. I think that, him having cancer was a result of poor diet. But let's talk about his life for just a second. And I honor his life when I speak about this. But his older brother got run over by a car in front of his face as a child. Oh. As he got older, his father killed himself. Oh. Those were his childhood traumas.
Wow.
Then he got older. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say it doesn't get more traumatic than that, but go on.
Then he got older, and he gets married, and he has a kid, and life might be good again, even though he hasn't dealt with that shit. Life's good again. He has my mom, he has me. Then my mom dies. Mm-hmm. Then my grandmother died, his mother, right around the same time. Mm-hmm. This man had so much trauma that he never dealt with because he was of the generation, you don't cry, you be a man. Yeah. That was what he was taught. Yeah. So I think cancer and all diseases are multifactorial. And that means when he was drinking, smoking, and eating poorly, that wasn't helping. But when he wasn't dealing with his trauma, when he wasn't releasing his past, when he wasn't forgiving the people that he thought had wronged him, when he wasn't forgiving himself for all the judgments that he made about the world, when he wasn't dealing with his trauma, he was also making himself sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the approach that we need is truly holistic, right? So it's mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
Like, again, it's another triangle, another pyramid, another triad, right? Because we have to approach wellness from a holistic standpoint. So we're looking at all of these different factors. And, when I coach people, I bring out the wheel and it's like, how are all these different things in your life doing? And it's a very easy way for people to see where they're out of balance, right?
Yeah.
So stress reduction is huge, which of course we know, we have the tools of yoga and meditation to support us with reducing stress. We need to pay attention to the body temple and everything that we put in it. And again, going back to, relationships is a huge one, right? That relationships can be toxic. They can be poisonous too. Mm-hmm. So really looking at that full spectrum of everything that is coming into your mind and your body and, and being really mindful and aware. And when you start to notice, that some things are maybe not as nutritious as they could be, doing a detox and detoxing not just the physical body, but also, the mind, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe even the heart. And like when you talk about forgiveness, that's a way to detox the heart, I would say, right?
That's so true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is all really key. And then I think a lot too about, I'm learning so much more I think you listened to my episodes with Bruce Lipton and
love him.
Right. I mean, that's a whole nother thing for us to look at is, the epigenetics of it all, the subconscious, like what are the subconscious programs that got into us before we were 7 that are running the show now? So that's another thing for us to look at, that we can think in our surface mind. I recently found out a friend of mine had breast cancer.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And, another one, right? Because it's epidemic. It's epidemic.
Yeah.
And, I just wonder, she said, everybody in my family had it, but I always knew I was never going to get it. And then I got it, and I wonder, if there's a subconscious program thought under there that maybe she did think she was going to get it, but in her conscious mind, she's fighting it. You just have to wonder. I mean, we'll never know.
Right.
But that subconscious is running like 95% of us, right? So, that's an important thing to look at. And like you say, multifactorial. I mean, when we look at cancer, so cancer is cancer along with diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. These are the biggest killers in the United States right now, are all diet and lifestyle related, right? And 90 to 95% preventable.
The biggest killers are the most preventable. What does that say about society,
Yeah, I mean, we need to change course. And, a lot of the work that I'm doing is trying to uncondition people, or reprogram people. Like, it's not your fault that you're addicted to cheese. There's a real, there's a real reason for that. I mean, there's a scientific reason that casein protein is super addictive. And, you've been told your whole life that milk does a body good, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's some deep programming. I mean, since childhood in school, you've been given milk. And I know when my daughter was a baby, it was like, make sure you give her 3 cups of milk a day. She needs it to grow and be healthy. I mean, that's the matrix world of conditioning that we live in.
So true.
Yeah. So anything that we can do to kind of lift the veil and remove the blinders and let people know that there's another way, I think is really useful to people. I really appreciate your story of, awakening and transformation. I think it's really powerful for people to hear that, you came from this mindset and, watched your parents get sick and, being told by the doctors that food, it makes no difference. Fast forward to now with everything that you've learned. I hope this lands with people. I hope that people receive this message and actually, begin to change some of their behaviors, before they get sick, right?
I mean, that's my goal. That's my vision. And I'm not perfect. I'm guilty of a lot of things. I definitely overindulge sometimes, or I drink too much wine sometimes, or I eat too much sugar sometimes. Like, you gotta look at it with the lens of progress, not perfection. And that's super important too, because one of my biggest mistakes when I started was I was like, I'm going to be an all raw diet, raw vegan, and I'm going to be the healthiest person. I'm going to exercise all the time, and I'm never going to drink and blah, blah, blah. Well, I felt like shit, and it was completely unsustainable. And so I really had to come back and go, what's really right for me? And it took time. It's not, this didn't happen overnight. This has been years. I'm still figuring it out. I'm like, can I eat gluten? I'm not sure. Like, some days it's fine. Some days I have a headache. And so I'm still figuring it out, but I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm conscious of it. So you're talking about the subconscious tapes playing in our in the background. And I'm trying to become aware of those so I know what my tapes are, so I can change them. I can turn them off, or I can deal with them. What are they? Let me deal with them. And then, like, one is sugar is a reward for doing something. Okay? That's a childhood one of mine. Ice cream, candy, treats. They were always a reward. So no wonder after I would have a long shoot of being on my feet all day, 12, 14-hour days, I go home and I'm like, where's my sugar? That's my conditioning. So if I'm aware of that, I can change it. If I'm not aware of it, I'm going to keep doing it. Now, am I perfect at it? No, I just did it 2 weeks ago. But I haven't done it since, right? And so it's progress over perfection.
I think that's such an important point that you make, that a lot of people might be inspired to kind of go in this direction, go in this lifestyle, and they feel like it has to be all or nothing. Like, I have to be fully vegan. I have to be 100%.
Right.
And, I hear this from people a lot, or they think they have to do it overnight, like really quickly. And it's a really great point that you raise around that, is that, it takes time to learn all of these things. It took me years, to fully release all the animal products from my diet. And, once I finally got it down, I created my e-course to try to give people like a shortcut roadmap to it. Like, here's this, here's everything that took me years to learn.
Yeah.
You can do it now in 6 weeks. But even that, I mean, on a physical level, you can do it, in 6 weeks or less. But the mental piece, it does take time to make those adjustments and figure it out when you're traveling and, when you're having meals with friends or family that are not on that path and not understanding it and maybe even condemning it. There's a lot of transformation, that happens, and that does take time. But I would want to encourage people to do it anyway, and to understand and to just be really gentle with yourself through the process. And that comes back to ahimsa, which is the underlying principle of my conscious eating 101 work. Ahimsa being, right, nonviolence, non-harm. And the first person to apply that to is yourself. To be really gentle with yourself and just, start with your good intentions, do the best you can. You fall down and you get back up, be easy on yourself, be gentle with yourself, but continue moving in that direction, one foot in front of the other, just knowing that, you're expressing self-love the best you can, just showing up and educating yourself and learning and, going to the farmer's market for your shopping and, getting to know your farmer and on all those things that you can do to just slowly but surely change your lifestyle, and really giving yourself permission to take the time to figure out, well, if I'm not going to eat this anymore, what am I going to eat? Giving yourself time to figure out what those new things are, and figure out what you like and what feels good in your body and what works for you. And I would go back to the one thing that you said about gluten, like, should I, is it okay for me or not? The simplest thing for people to do around that is the elimination, right? So take it out of your diet for 30 days and then reintroduce it and pay close attention and notice what's happening. There's your answer.
Oh, so true. And that was amazing, everything you just said. So #preach, Magda. But I did do a food journal on what I was finding, and it's my own correlation. It's not scientific, but I think that gluten was related to my headaches because I was associating with my headaches with, okay, they're coming on because they're stress induced. And then when I did a food journal, I was seeing that there might be a correlation with gluten. And so I'm still figuring it out.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's give people that tool. How does the food journal work? What do you do?
You write down what you eat, and then you write down how you feel.
Is there a time? Is there a time? Like, do you do 30, 60, 120 minutes out or a day out, or
So there's probably a better way to do this, but here's what I do and what I think works. When I eat, I write it down in my journal. Now, if I'm out, I just type it in my phone for later, and then I put it in the journal later. You could do this all on your phone if you wanted, but I love handwriting. And so what you do is you write every time that you feel something that's not your optimal, you write it down. I feel really tired. It's 4:00 and I'm really tired. So I'm not saying every hour you have to check in and say how you feel. I'm saying every time you feel out of balance, you say, it's 4:00, I feel really tired. It's 8:00, I have a headache. And so then you kind of can look back and look at what you ate in the last 12 hours, 24 hours, and see what correlations are happening. I'm sure there's, Magda, a more scientific or structured way to do this, but that's how I do it. And I do see patterns. And then I can choose to do an elimination diet. So I haven't done gluten elimination specifically after this, but what you could do is then whatever this might be correlated, I'm not sure, try an elimination, and if those symptoms go away, you know the culprit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's powerful. I love that idea of the tool of the food journal and just, tracking, how you're feeling and then looking back at what you've been eating and seeing how that might be affecting you. That's powerful. That's a good nugget for people. Thank you for that.
Sure.
I mean, what's your best advice for somebody that's maybe trying to transition, off of the standard American diet or off of animal products, more towards a plant-based diet? I just taught another class at Lightning in a Bottle, and asked the question, how many people are trying to make this transition right now? And like almost every hand in the room went up. And I would just like to hear, what would your advice be to those people?
My advice is you can live without dairy cheese, and I'm going to tell you my favorite cheeses because this is what everyone says to me. Allie, I would go vegan, but I can't give up my cheese. And I'm like, I understand. And here's how you can do it. So if you want the most delicious cheese plate, I was a big wine and cheese person. I used to go to this place in Beverly Hills called The Farm, and they have one downtown. They used to have one at the Grove, and they had the best cheese plate I'd ever had. So what do I do now? I have to recreate my cheese plate. So you can recreate the cheese plate and have your wine and grapes and crackers, whatever you're going to have with it. Have people over with a couple of delicious cheeses. There's Fromage, Vromage. There's Miyokos, Miyokos. There's Yvonne's, Yvonnes. Those are some of my favorite, delectable, delicious, high-end cheeses. And then if you're just at the grocery store and you want to make a pizza and you want cheese that melts. I remember a big complaint a few years ago was that vegan cheese didn't melt and it tasted like plastic. And it kind of did. Look, it's true. So if you want that kind of shredded cheese, you can put it on tacos, you can put it on pizza. There's Daiya, D-A-I-Y-A. I should probably look this up. D-A-I-Y-A. That's it. Yep. And then, and look, I'm not telling you this is a health food, okay? What I'm saying is this is a great replacement to take dairy out of your diet. That will taste amazing. You can make a lot of food with it. It's not your kale, right? So when you're making that pizza, put some avocado on it, put some kale on it to make it more of a health food. But these are good replacements. There's Follow Your Heart. They have they have every kind of cheese. So there's more. There's all these vegan cheeses that have made their way into the mainstream, even at Trader Joe's. Miyoko's butter is now at Trader Joe's. So you can find these affordably. They're at Whole Foods. I don't know if they're in the more mainstream grocery stores in every city yet, but you can order these things online. So there are so many options now for you to start transitioning off of dairy to see how you feel. I know that most people that I talk to feel better getting off of dairy than anything else. feel better getting off of dairy than sugar, feel better getting off of dairy than meat. Their skin clears up. They stop being bloated. They're able to digest better. There are so many stories of this. I could go on. And so that would be my biggest advice, besides adding more greens. If you really want to make a shift in your diet, but you think you can't give up cheese, just slowly start making these delicious replacements and see what happens to your body. Do you feel better? Do the cheeses taste good? Find the ones that are your favorite. Not every vegan cheese is for everybody. So keep trying a couple until you see like, ooh, this one. You know, I have a lot of parties at my house. I have a nice party house. We do Oscar parties. We do Thanksgiving here. We just do parties. And I always have my vegan cheese plate. The non-vegans don't know it's vegan, and they're like, damn, where's this cheese from? And the vegans are super happy because they're like, this is gourmet, thank you.
I love it. Get in there, and they don't even notice the difference. And that's a great, I love that. I can see that. That's a really great point, is that this, you know, some people I think worry about moving in this direction of, you know, a plant-based diet because they think they're going to miss something, right? They're going to be deprived of something. But the truth is, in this day and age, there are these substitutions for everything that, you know, from meat, you know, fake meat to you know, nut-based cheeses, nut and seed-based cheeses for replacement. So absolutely, there's really no reason for us to keep eating the things that we know are toxic to our body, and very much so to the planet, and cruel to the animals when we have alternatives. So yeah, I love that. Yeah, replace, you know, go for the fancy cheese plate, like Allison said. And like I said earlier, I mean, it's not your fault that you're addicted to cheese.
It's not.
It's very intentional. And even on a scientific level, I mean, it's a real addiction, but you can break any addiction or any habit or create a new one in just 21 days. So if you can use some of these replacements and get yourself through 21 days, you know, your body will adjust and you won't necessarily have the cravings so much anymore. So that is great advice. Thank you, Allison. Absolutely. I think we got through everything that I wanted to talk about, and we're right up to an hour now. So I think we can wrap it up here. And I just really want to again express my really heartfelt, deep gratitude to you for the work that you're doing. I know that you're helping so many people and you're impacting so many lives. And I'm grateful to you and to Susie for the work that you're doing with the Food Heals podcast. And, you know, keep up the great work.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And we've really enjoyed getting to know you on our podcast and at the many fun events I've seen you at in LA. And, you know, I love the title Visionary Lifestyle, because this is visionary and this is all aspirational. So don't think that when you're changing your lifestyle, body, mind, and spirit, that you have to do everything today and it has to be finished by tomorrow. Like, this is all progress. This is all things to aspire to. I'm still aspiring to be better in my body, mind, and spirit, and it's a challenge and I enjoy it. And so when you make it fun and you make it exciting, then it just becomes a part of your life, where when you discover that new vegan cheese, or you discover that new cool meditation that's about manifesting more money or something that like excites you, then you will continue to improve your life little by little, and eventually you won't remember when you felt like shit. You know?
Right. And actually that just sparked one more thought that I want to share, is that when people move in this direction and, you know, they sometimes, most of the time, I would say, people feel better than they realize they could ever feel, right? You know, this phenomenon I'm talking about, right? That people, they don't realize how bad they were feeling or how good they could feel until they get into this lifestyle and they get all those greens into their lives, and they, you know, take up the yoga and the meditation, and they transform their life. And then suddenly it's like, whoa, all these years I've been living in, you know, pain unnecessarily. Because, you know, just the good stuff is right on the other side. We just have to keep moving in that direction to find out just how great we can actually feel, and continue on the prevention train, right? So let's hope that everybody can get the word on this and move in this direction and be healthier than they've ever been, and continue to be, and just, you know, leave the diseases in the dust behind us and not have that be part of our reality.
So true. And now you brought up something that made me want to say something, which is I feel like a lot of people, myself included, have played the victim for a large portion of our lives, where we thought that everything was happening to us. And so what all we have to do is make the decision that we are in control. And it doesn't mean that we can control everything. From a spiritual perspective, we have no control. But from a day-to-day perspective, I am in control of whether or not I'm going to be a happy, productive person or whether I'm going to be a miserable, angry one. So when I get in my car, I'm going to decide, how's this ride going to be? Am I going to yell at everyone in traffic and be angry, or am I going to be at peace? Am I going to try my best, even if I fail, to eat the best, most fuel-inducing, delicious greens that I can to make myself feel better? Am I going to choose to speak to everyone that I see today with love instead of anger or fear? And so we can make these choices every single day to better our lives and not ever be the victim of our circumstances.
Amen. Well said, Allison. Melody, thank you so much for bringing your light and your wisdom to the show. And I look forward to seeing you and giving you a huge hug next time I see you.
Can't wait. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thanks so much for answering the call to be here today. I'm so glad you're part of our tribe of activated rainbow warriors. If you found the show in any way empowering or inspiring, I would be so grateful if you would share the show on social media or with friends and family that you think would benefit from these conversations. And also, rate and review the show in iTunes. This is really the very best way to help support the show and help us get noticed by others who are looking for the sort of content that we're sharing. Now notice there are no outside ads playing here. That's because the show is supported by you, the listener. You can become a patron of the show with a small monthly donation by checking out the perks on our Patreon page at patreon.com/visionary lifestyle and signing up there. There's also a one-time donation button on the podcast page of the website if that suits you better. And just so you know, your donations help to cover the necessary out-of-pocket monthly expenses to produce the show and will also help us grow so we can inspire and educate even more people. And hey tribe, I'd love to hear from you. Visit me at visionary-lifestyle.com and please tell me your comments and questions. I really look forward to connecting with you. I love you. Namaste. Today's episode is brought to you by the Conscious Eating 101 e-course. This is a 6-week online course aimed at empowering you to make food choices that are in alignment with your values. The program is based on ahimsa, also known as non-harm, and helps you make every bite that you take an expression of love, self-love, animal love, and planet love. The course offers 15 lessons and 20 nutritious and delicious recipes and is offered over 6 weeks that you can do at your own pace. It includes lessons like plant-based nutrition, protein, dairy alternatives, the story on sugar, GMOs, label reading, and many more. If you're looking to increase your health and happiness, balance your weight, reduce your footprint on the planet, and align your food choices with your values, or are interested in being part of the solution to huge world problems like climate change, rainforest destruction, and world hunger, then this is the course for you. If this speaks to you, please check out consciouseating101.com today.